Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to
the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's not on the agenda, but we're gonna do our swearing-ins for the,
Yes.
for the, new re-ups, I guess, so.
Yes, I guess. Mayor Dwayne Jurek, Councilman Bruce Wolf, and Councilman Rick.
John Ryan.
You guys would like to stand and raise your right hand? We'll do it all at the same time here.
Okay.
I state your name.
I, Sean Ryan,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to support the Constitution of the United States,
to support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
and to discharge faithfully the duties
and
To discharge faithfully the duties
of the office of the City of New Prague, Minnesota,
of the office of Mayor of the City of New
Prague,
Prague, Minnesota,
to the best of my judgment and ability.
to the best of my judgment and ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Okay. Now I'll have you guys sign these out.
Okay. All right, the next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Okay, is there a second on that?
I'll go ahead.
Okay, there's been a second by Bruce. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. The consent agenda, not modified, but a corrected.
Correct, your
Minutes.
minutes, there's a corrected in there, under item 11B, discussions of items not on the agenda, there was language that a motion had been made. Not sure how that ended up on there.
It was like in the middle.
Clicked, so we did review the meeting and that did not take place, so we had that removed. And the minutes in front of you are the corrected
Corrected
ones.
ones.
for that. And those minutes are available the corrected ones are available online now as well.
Okay. Any other questions on the consent agenda? Otherwise, I'd take a motion to approve.
So moved.
Maggie made a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Sean seconds it. Any other questions or discussion? If none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, the city engineer projects update, and we do have the city engineer here tonight.
Good evening, everybody. It's been a little while since I've been in town here, so
Yep.
I want to be here tonight and, well, project updates I'll go through with you. I don't have anything in your packet this meeting, but, the 2024 project is, as most of you are aware, mostly complete here. I do expect we'll be talking to the contractor a little bit more this next month regarding potential liquidated damages due to the project going late for milestone dates. So while the project was completed on time as far as our substantial completion, we do expect to have something on the milestone dates for the days without pavement. So once they started work, they didn't get paid for longer than they should have. So Matt and I have met with the contractor already, and the owner was at the meeting. So I expect that to be, I think we said we'd revisit the issue in February, so that'll be coming up here pretty soon. On the 2025 project, we do have a neighborhood meeting scheduled for tomorrow. So invitations have been sent out to everybody, 6 to 7:30. This is an open house time to view plans. So assuming everything goes as expected, we should be bringing those plans to the next council meeting on the 21st for approval to bid the project. So I expect after our meeting tomorrow, we'll be sending the plans to MnDOT State Aid for review and approval prior to plans actually hitting the street. But during the month of February, we'll be bidding it out. And if everything goes according to schedule, we should be awarding that at the first meeting in March. So generally, things are going according to schedule on estimate and everything like that. So we're looking pretty good on that. That's all I have for you tonight then. I do have a proposal for you later, so
Okay.
I'll come back to that.
Thank you. All right, the next item on the agenda is the public is invited to be heard on matters not on the agenda. Speakers are limited to 5 minutes. Does anybody want to speak to the council? I know Commissioner Teets is here. That's if you want to speak. Introduce yourself.
Yeah, put me on the spot.
Well,
No, I just, wanted to let you guys know that I'm gonna be active coming to your meetings, and if you have any concerns, I'm willing to listen to anybody. That goes for the citizens that live in the Lee Sewer side of New Prague, along with the residents in Lanesburg Township. Hope we can all work together. Yeah.
Good, thank you.
Thanks. Yeah.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks, yeah. for sure.
Congratulations.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Does anybody else wish to speak to the council? Going. Thank you.
My name's Brian Paulson, 2064 4th Street Southwest. Mayor, members of the council. So the issue I have with the cameras that were approved at last meeting, it's not the cameras, it's the easily searchable database stored in the cloud that can be used to reveal sensitive and personal information about average law-abiding people. One likely use case for these is vandalism or assaults at parks. Camera can be used and installed, and tape can be reviewed without the flock tracking and cloud database. You can have video feeds saved locally and reviewed if there's an issue. With Flock, a person in another city can run an ex-partner's plate and see if they go to the park, and the system uses AI to see who they may be meeting with, and it makes connections with people that are crossing paths. Finding out who's friends with who. This is one of their features they talk about. This actually happened. A Sedgwick, Kansas police chief used Flock safety license plate readers to track his ex-girlfriend and her new boyfriend's vehicle 228 times or 4+ months. And I know that our police force would not do that, but it's other police forces that I also am concerned about. Multiple instances, the cameras were misread license plates, and innocent people, including a family, were taken into custody at gunpoint with high-risk traffic stops. In all those situations, the officers were required to verify the plates. Oops. This footage is considered public information and owned by the city, so can't I do a data request for a license plate? If you don't honor my request based on personal identifiable information, then wouldn't that be saying that this data you're collecting is not public? There is talk about the legality and constitutionality of these. Let's assume that it is allowed, but just because you can doesn't mean that you should. The LPRs on police cars that are in other cities have legal requirements to search. It is a low bar, just a case number if I'm correct. But what is happening is these cities are circumventing the spirit of the law. They're doing this because it's a privately owned camera and privately owned database. It doesn't fall under the same restrictions. So they're just trying to get around the restrictions. I'd really prefer a camera system that can record and be reviewed locally. We already have our own fiber network, no AI searchable database in the cloud, no remote searches from other agencies. They have to come to us for information. I do not like the flock cameras in particular. I would support a compromise that many communities have implemented. We restrict the retention period to 72 hours. Still screens hot lists with stolen wanted plates, Amber Alerts, and can be reviewed for vandalism and saved for evidence for longer periods of time. Another reason for the shorter period is almost certainly that the system will be compromised. Today, Wired Magazine talked about Motorola's license plate readers, the second largest company in this industry. Motorola had a security flaw that was brought to light because of a cybersecurity company that bought a camera online, reverse engineered it, and found that all over the United States, cameras were openly broadcasting live feeds with the data. Motorola is still working to find and close that vulnerability. What about the vulnerabilities that are known by bad actors that aren't going to report them? The more data that you save, the higher the risk. If the data isn't saved, it can't be compromised. And finally, how are you going to measure success? After 3 years, what will success look like? We already have a great police force that has a community in the top tier for safety. Personally, don't think that was because of anything the city implemented. It's our culture here in New Prague. If there's more calls, is that because of the cameras? Or less calls due to the cameras? The rate of solving crimes? What measurable thing is going to be used? Because after 3 years, you can take data and you can make it fit wherever you would like to support to have more cameras. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else want to address the council? Going once? Okay, just state your name and your address, please.
Lori Greenbush, 2390 10th Avenue Southeast. Whatever he said, I didn't move out here to be surveilled. This is not, I'm like, where's the data? Where's it going? where does Homeland Security, like, okay, so the grant, what rights do they have to the data? Do they, I mean, I don't know, it's really frustrating, and I'm like, I don't know why we need this here. It's beautiful here, I don't know. That's basically my problem with it. It's like, I don't need people knowing or recording how many times I go to Dairy Queen. Like, what is, I don't understand that. And what precedence does this set for future? Like, okay, so what happens, if the government or whoever decides, oh, here's a thing that we need to enforce on the people, doesn't this turn into contact tracing? Like, I don't know. I don't know. It's just unnerving, and I don't approve this at all. And I don't know. I think it really doesn't help this town at all. But and I'm a person personally. I'm in a situation where I'm being surveilled by somebody I don't want to be surveilled by. And until you live in that, it's just plain creepy to walk around going, oh, somebody knows that, my license plate has been read because I drove past the thing by Hy-Vee. Like that's just not what freedom is. And what does this allow for the future? Like, I mean, how can this data how's it gonna be used against us in things that we don't agree with? So I don't think it's necessary at all. And I think this town is beautiful and safe the way it is. And I don't know whose idea this is, but I don't know. It's just my 2 cents.
Okay.
Sorry for the rambling.
No,
but,
that's okay.
but it's just, I don't know. It's not what I would consider in this town. Like, and what about all the city businesses? Like, once this gets out that, whoever comes in this town's getting their license plates read, who's gonna go around here? Like, I don't know. It just doesn't feel right. It doesn't smell right. And I don't think our freedom it feels a vulnerability to our freedoms. It's just to be able to travel and go about our business. And I don't know. It just doesn't smell right that we should be allowing this here or anywhere for that matter. But anyway, I don't think it's necessary here. Anyway, I moved from the Twin Cities to get away from this stuff. Really? I mean, so anyway.
Thank you.
I want to make
I'm surprised not more people are here.
Quiet, Sean.
I hear you guys, and I'm very leery of it too. It's one thing to put it in parks to watch vandalism and whatnot. I don't like the other cameras being moved around or set stationary on Main Street, and somewhat tracking. It does feel kind of creepy to me. But I will promise you and whomever is on our side that I'll bring it up again in 6 months. I mean, we have this grant, we're gonna use it, let's see where it's gonna come, how it's gonna be used, if there's any complaints from constituents on any issue. Leaving the bowling alley at 10:30 at night on a Tuesday, are the cops gonna be watching for the car coming down Main Street to follow them? I mean, that doesn't mean that they're drunk, it doesn't mean that they're, there's a lot of misuse that could be done with this, so, I'll bring it up again in a few months once it's implemented, and we'll make sure that if there's any issues that we can address it as a board.
So what's in it for Homeland Security? Like, did
No,
they come
Pam,
to
you
this?
already spoke.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I don't know, I'm not arguing with you, I'm on your side, but we'll,
Yeah. Anybody else want to speak to it? Dennis.
Dennis Teets, County Commissioner. I'm a little biased. I got a retired deputy sheriff. And these cameras are gonna be a great toolbox, or a tool for everyone's toolbox. People have Ring doorbells. I know the agency I worked for, if we had an incident, we'd be knocking on people's doors, looking at their Ring doorbell for an incident that happened that would help us solve a crime or locate a person. So I am in favor of this. I've talked to Sheriff Mason, who, again, like Council Ryan said, if they're used properly and not following people, stopping people. My kid came home, he's a high school kid, everybody in high school is talking about the cops are gonna be pulling us over for going through stop signs and going 2 miles over the speed limit, which I advise them that's not gonna be the case. So I thank the city for looking into this. I think it's a great tool for the city and the citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, if there's no more addressing us for the public comment period, we'll go on to the next item on the agenda. So item 9 is to start with a resolution appointing the official city depositories.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, according to Minnesota statute 118A.02, the governing body of each government entity shall designate a depository for its funds every single year. I've included the list of depositories that we are currently using, and I have draft of resolution 25010701 includes those, making them the institutions for 2025 as well.
Okay, does anybody have any questions or concerns on those depositories? Otherwise, I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
Okay, there's been a motion made by Sean. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Rick. Any other questions or discussions on that?
And just to clarify, this is a motion to approve the resolution 2501070601.
Yes. Yes, it would be. Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. All right, the next item up is, I don't know, mayoral appointments to boards and commissions.
Yes, I included in your packet, the current assignments for all the council members. If there are any council members that want to change
Yeah.
or wrestle for a position, now would be the time, to do that.
Was there any changes?
No, yes, so the one in the packet is as they stand now.
I don't have my packet with me, I'm sorry, it came right from work. No, that's okay, if it's, as long as there was no change.
I don't see vice president
every-
in there either.
No, that's
That's
a
next.
different
That's
one.
next.
Okay, sir.
Cause again, I almost questioned it like I did last year, the joint powers. Because Rick and I both serve on that, but that's a whole different.
Yes, the joint powers is not
Yeah.
that is one that the city council appoints people to, and it just so happens that it appointed 2 of its own members to it.
Yep. So we have Bruce Wolf with the Utility Commission, Maggie Bass with Park Board, Planning Commission, Sean Ryan, Golf Board, Sean Ryan, EDA, Dwayne Jerick, and Bruce Wolf. Cedar Lake Sanitary District, Rick Seiler, New Prague Area Community Center Board, Rick Seiler, and I don't know, Sean Ryan's appointed a Joint Planning Commission with Helena Township.
Yeah, that was fine, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
You're okay?
Yeah,
with that?
yep,
Okay,
yep.
all right. So with that, I would take a motion for approval of these appointments.
So moved?
Maggie made the
Second.
motion and Sean seconded it. Any questions or concerns? Otherwise, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. City Council Vice President, I don't know who's up for that.
I would like to nominate Bruce Wolf.
I'll second.
Okay? There's been a nomination and a second. Do I take other nominations, or I think when that
I
happens,
suppose you could,
somebody has to close the
but yeah,
nomination.
generally I know that you guys have rotated.
Right.
And I
Every
think
single year, and
Bruce is up, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, and I was currently, or
Yes.
for, in 2024, I was it.
So, if there's no other nominations, we'll cast a white ballot for Bruce Wolf as the Vice President of the City Council. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
speech.
Speech.
You might wanna, the city website still has me listed. and that's been
Does it really?
Yeah.
Well, you
So
know,
you might wanna update the city website.
yeah, we'll get that.
You mean you
Bruce.
looked at that?
Yeah, usually I pull up my packet.
Oh, yeah, no. I just-
Through the city, through the website.
Okay, the next item is the 2025 legal representations for city attorney, I guess this would be.
Yep, so, the information's in your packet, but basically, Kenny and Graven is proposing an hourly rate, of $204, which is up $8 from last year. For general and civil matters, $240, which is up $9 for litigation. General development, real estate, telecom matters and employment matters, and then $287, which is up $11 for the reimbursable or pass-through matters that we use them in the case of reviewing stuff for developers and that sort of thing that we invoice out. So if you have any questions, I can certainly try to answer them. Otherwise, I guess I would recommend appointing Kennedy and Graven as our legal counsel for 25.
So moved.
There's been a motion, is there a second?
I'll second it, but I have
Yep,
quick
go ahead.
questions. I know you're recommending it, but could you just give a synopsis of how you feel the relationship has worked in performance that he's given us so far? And then
Yeah, so I guess
just a general idea of what the breakout of the different tiers here, how much is he spending on this area and how much is he spending on that? Do we use it all for administrative stuff?
Yeah, so I think, at least from my experience and speaking with staff, we have generally a very good relationship with them. Kenny and Graven is usually pretty timely in most things. I mean, there's some things that have taken them a little bit longer. I know working through the cannabis stuff was a pain, but I don't know if that was always entirely their fault either. So I think all the way to the top, nobody has any idea what's going on. So generally, things have gone very well. In terms of breakouts, I don't have that exact breakout in front of me. I think most of our stuff does have to probably fall under either that civil necessarily and or moving over to kind of your development project type matters. There was a streak there where we had a few different employment things that we worked with them with, but that a lot less generally outside of a few instances. So I don't even know how much 280, how much of the reimbursable stuff do we deal with? I know we just dealt with the tax abatement stuff, which will end up being reimbursable, but.
Yeah, that would be one. If data request, plat set reviewed.
But yeah, I can certainly get a full breakdown for Kenny and Graven and kind of how that's going forward and just make note to bring that back every single year too, if you'd like to see it.
Or maybe at budget time, just again, a
Yeah.
sense of what's going on, and are we using them differently than the previous year? What's the trend? Are we,
Or why
Kind of
it
thing,
would
is
be
it-
up or down.
yeah.
Yeah, I can certainly get that together for you.
Is Scott Riggs our lead attorney? Or-
Yes, so Scott Riggs is our lead attorney. And I would assume as long as we're with Kenny and Graven until he retires, that would be the case.
Okay.
We do also do work with Joe Sathy and forgot the other one's name that you deal with a lot, Tim.
Bob Alsep, is it?
Not Bob Alsop, who's Sam Ketchum.
Oh,
Yeah, so Bob Alsop tends to do more of the employment stuff.
oh, yeah.
And then I think Joe Sathy and Sam Ketchum kind of assist Scott in getting matters done, but Scott's kind of the lead point involved in most phone calls or emails.
And I know he's prompt when I've had to deal with him, so, last year when I dealt with him.
Usually if all else fails, I call him on his cell phone and he picks up.
Yeah, he's very
Thank you.
accommodating. Okay, did we?
Motion's been made and
Yeah, okay, the motions have been made and seconded. Any other questions or discussions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Consulting professionals, city engineer and city financial advisor.
Yeah, so once again, recommending going with SEH. Continuing as our city engineer, as you remember a couple years ago, we did kind of go through an interview process to kind of reaffirm that relationship. And just this past fall, we also went through an interview process for financial advising firms and chose Eller's Public Advisors at that point, and would recommend using them. In this very short time that we've had them, they've been extremely helpful in working through some matters, whether with the utility or looking at already kind of laying the groundwork for kind of working on a long-term financial plan for this year with us. So.
Okay, I would take a motion to approve the city engineer and city financial advisor. consulting professionals.
So moved.
And I'll second.
There's been a motion by Bruce, seconded by Maggie. Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Okay, the New Prague Fire Department, chief and officers.
Steve can certainly give more information to this if he would like, but the officers were voted on at their December meeting and are in your packet. And I guess staff recommends approving those officers for 2025.
Okay, I take a motion for recommendation of the officers.
So moved.
Second.
Sean made the motion, Maggie seconded it. Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. All right, designate the official newspaper.
Yes, so currently using the New Prague Times, and Patrick fought me on it, but I told him that I would be recommending it again for this year. So, I would recommend going with the New Prague Times for 2025.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve or designate the New Prague Times as the official newspaper. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. And then B, is that just for info?
More of an info, I didn't know if there's anything you guys wanted to discuss. I told you, we kind of started this last year, just so as we roll into, boards kind of turn over in May a little bit, and so I can certainly bring this information back at that point, but, the city council does have the ability, if board members aren't attending on a regular basis, to fill that spot to make sure that it does get filled. So, it is more of an FYI unless anyone wanted to discuss anything on there.
I just had a question, Josh. I know that, the city council, we can't have, Zoom or video.
Yeah.
Call-ins, but
Correct.
we are, apparently there's more latitude now in the state law that's allowing us to do some video for at least attendance, but not,
I would have to,
Voting?
I was not aware of that. I know.
no,
the
no,
last-
I meant for boards
Oh.
and commissions.
Yep, so, so if you look in there, there is the, one golf board member who
Right.
has attended remotely, if that's what you're referring to.
Right.
And, he does attend, and I think he certainly participates, though I told Kurt that he cannot count towards a quorum. And so, he can certainly participate, almost like any member of the public could, but his vote doesn't formally count if he's not in the room, and he can't count towards a quorum at that point.
So is this some latitude granted by the state law, or is this just what you, how you
Yes.
describe it, someone's just calling in as a member of the public?
Yeah, as the latter there, it's almost someone's calling in as a member of the public. And
So you're not supposed to be doing actual business?
as far, yeah, everything that I've talked to about with Scott Riggs, and I think we even talked about it within the last year again, is that, while the rules were relaxed during COVID, they've gone back to how they were, is that as a voting member of a board or body, you must be in person. If you're not in person, I think there are a few small exceptions that can be made.
One
but
is
you-
medical, but you have to have
but
a
you-
note from the doctor that you can't attend. I know that.
And I know ultimately wherever you do end up attending from, it has to be a public place that could be visited by anybody. So if you were medically attending from the beaches of Cancun, your location in Cancun would have to be made public. And
You
so
can't be a private beach?
No, that way anybody could come and attend with you at that location.
So this one person on the golf board that has attended remotely for January, February, March, April, is that a snowbird situation? And if that's the case, then why would we allow that individual to be on the board? Because for those 4 months, they're not actually fully participating.
I guess, yeah, that would be a question for the council as to, how they'd want to particularly handle that
And I
situation.
think maybe he was appointed before we really started coming down on, well, I remember asking him.
Dan's been on for quite a while.
Yeah, but I remember.
He brings a lot to the board too.
I was gonna say, he is one of, even though it is remote, he is probably one of the more active participants on that board, but that does raise a good question.
Yeah, but does that set precedence for other boards and members?
I got that same situation going with Cedar Lake, and, there's a couple of them that take off, and there's not a problem, I mean, as soon as they get back. Otherwise, they're on the computer.
Well, it is unfortunate in this day and age where so much business is done, video, including the legislature, that and that counts, for almost everything, that we can't have more latitude, especially on the boards and commissions part of it, but.
And I know that's certainly something, Dwayne and I will be going up here to the legislature this year, and maybe that's something we start pushing on our legislatures to
Get-
see if we can get
Get the
something
law
updated.
clarified and make it more
Uniform, right?
uniform and more with the ages.
Accessible, if you will.
Yeah,
I understand on a council level, but on some of the other ones, it would seem like we'd get better participation, more people willing to do it if they had more latitude about attendance and being able to attend different ways.
Yeah, they're just advisory boards.
Yeah,
I mean, the ultimate decision is here, so.
Yep.
I agree. Okay. The next item is the municipal state aid street engineering services proposal.
All right, first off, I appreciate the reappointment as city engineer, so I've enjoyed my last couple of years, serving in that role. Part of our services as city engineer is regarding your municipal state aid, road system. We do this on an annual basis, provide a proposal to, maintain that system. When I say that, it's gonna be reviewing the roads that are in your current system, any changes that are necessary, certification of mileage, which is something I do at the end of every year. And then attending fall and spring screening board meetings with MnDOT and other city engineers in District 7 and District 8. So I do have a proposal in front of you today to complete those services. One is what we call the routine services, which is just everything I know I'm going to do every year for certification of your system. The second is non-routine services. This would be generally for any changes we make to your state aid route system. So if we decide to redesignate or designate a road as a state aid route, take something else off of the system, that is going to be a non-routine item, not something we do every year. Haven't done that for a few years now. So I do have a task one, which is routine, in the amount of $7,100. It's a lump sum fee. And then an hourly not to exceed fee of $1,500 for any changes that may come up. So we have a little bit extra mileage on the system coming off of First Street Southeast. Not much, couple hundred feet for that most recent development. We've looked at First Street Southeast as a potential change between Lexington and 7th, which is the street that was mostly recently reconstructed. So as we start looking at those will be included in that non-routine portion. So with that, I guess I'll see if there are any questions for me on this.
Any questions for Chris? Otherwise, I would take a motion to approve the engineering services proposal. Rick made a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second, and this is for the year 2025.
25, yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you.
All right, thanks, everybody.
All right, going
Thank
to
you.
go around the horn. Maggie, do you have anything?
Just one item. I was out and about today at a particular retail store and received a favorable input on the cameras that are proposed to be installed. I just wanted to pass that along.
Okay.
Two things. Where are we at with the cars behind Rusty Spoke?
Yeah, that was, you took the words out of my mouth.
Working with the county attorney's office, I think some of the question comes into who's responsible for those vehicles. Is the property owner or the owner themselves? So the ordinance applies to the owner, but then the vehicles are then managed by or owned by the owners of the vehicle. So is the property owner responsible, or is it the actual owner of the vehicle who is in violation of the law? So that's where the divide comes in with the county attorney's office. So that's what we're trying to sort out right now, and who's the responsible party. So we consulted with them and we issued the citation, who they requested us to do so, and that citation did not go through. So I have to have a conversation with the county attorney's office about that.
What does that mean? The citation did not go through?
So they dismissed the citation because they felt that the law that our ordinance did not apply to who the citation was issued to, even though we had consulted with them about who the citation should be written to,
And who is they?
the county attorney. So they're the ones that would prosecute that citation.
So one attorney instructed you to issue it and another attorney dismissed it.
Yep.
What about our ordinance made that happen?
I think when you work with the county attorney's office, different attorneys have different interpretations of the law. So when we call and talk with one attorney, that may not be the same attorney that gets that case assigned to them. So part of that is a consistency thing that we're working with the county attorney on and clarifying that.
Meaning the head attorney? Yeah,
The
okay.
actual county.
Yep.
Right, okay.
Okay.
Well, I mean,
Just,
I'm not an attorney, but this seems to be a very objective issue that, and it's not the first time it's happened, so I'm surprised that we have a vagueness in how we do this in New Prague.
I would agree.
It seems really strange, and that, I don't know if we need our attorney, because
And I don't know if it's necessarily a New Prague issue too.
Yeah.
I know there are various issues I know cities are trying to work through with the county attorney's office.
it just seems strange that if the interpretation is that the owner of the vehicle is responsible, but yet the property owner is allowing that vehicle to be on that property.
is the nuisance ordinance a different ordinance than what we're using to apply this citation?
No, the nuisance ordinance applies to, because the ordinance points back to the state statute. So that's how the ordinance, most of our ordinances point back to the state
Right.
statute, which is how we issue the citation. So in that interpretation, I think the county attorney's office is still holding the owner of the vehicle responsible because of the violation on the vehicle, when in fact, our ordinance points to the property owner
Right.
is responsible for what is on their property.
Right.
So I think that's where the confusion comes in, and that's the conversations that I'm having, is how do we figure this out and get on the same page? Because the ordinance points to the statute, and the statute is very clear, as is our ordinance. So these things point to each other, and that's how it should be that the property owner is responsible for what is on their property.
And that
So-
has been the case for every other
Yeah.
nuisance, refuse, just
Yeah.
general junk, I
Yeah.
guess you would say.
Yeah, we've had
And they-
this happen before,
And we
so.
ticket
Yeah.
for those and they go through, so.
Yep.
So,
So if we can,
piggybacking on Sean with this, what about why not? Are we in the same boat with that?
That one was charged, so he's going through the court process right now.
Oh, he is,
with that, yeah.
okay. All right, I'm not gonna interrupt anymore, go ahead. Sean.
well, just to parrot Bruce, I'm not an attorney, but I mean, if my car was disabled on Main Street and I let it sit there for a few days, it'd be towed,
Yep.
right?
And that's public property, right?
So-
Different from private property.
No, but have we gone to the property owner and said, hey, we want this cleaned up? Can we, and so the property owner,
Right.
can you
And,
tell me who
and
the
that's what we
property
did.
owner is?
We issued the citation to the property owner, and they said that wasn't the proper person to write the citation to.
Is that public record or not?
It
like
should,
Don't Be Lying LLC, who's
yeah, it should
the
be in the
operator of the
public,
Rusty's Boat.
Okay.
yeah.
And then it's one of the tenants upstairs that is running this mechanic shop. So, actually, he's running is that even a permitted use in that area?
I mean, he's up in the middle of the night. I mean, you can see around 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, he'll be over there
Around
welding
there?
on it.
Okay.
Okay, I had one other question that I wanted to pass on to Matt. I heard some very good, a couple came up to me, and wanted, me to pass along to you what a great job that Josh Hennon and his crew did, concerning some work out in front of their house. The, entire thing went very smooth. They listened to their questions and answered them very nicely, and it was just very nice compliment that I said I'd bring out publicly, so.
I appreciate that. Thank
So-
you. I'll let them know.
Yes. And I'm sorry I didn't get the two people that were working with them, weren't sure of him, but Josh introduced himself, so that's how they did, but, okay.
Thank you.
Okay, well, those were my questions that, Sean, but I was gonna ask about them also, cause I was wondering, I drove by there today. So that's all I had. Bruce?
Just to circle back to the camera use, my understanding is that we'll see this issue come back in front of us again when we discuss the camera use policy that you're preparing. Is that correct?
Yeah, yep, I'll bring the policy.
So, some of these issues will be discussed again, and, when you refer to the 6-month period, we'll have a
Okay.
chance to revisit that even before they start using it, in that, sometime in there. But, that was my only question.
Okay. And I agree, they could be used as a great tool in the right circumstances. I'm not totally opposed against them, but I think we should
Well,
constantly be reviewing it, because there is a lot of concern out in the community, because it does kind of feel invasive, but.
Well, not only concern, but I think there's already starting a lot of misinformation.
Yeah,
on
yeah, it
what
could
it
be
is,
that.
and I think we really need to do a good job when we talk about this policy, be able to really outlining how it's gonna be used, and that it's not gonna be used in certain areas, it can't be used in certain areas. And so,
Yep, the policy will address all of the usage, how it's used, data storage, how the data is used, and retention.
and some of these miscellaneous issues that were already being brought to us, like the legality of it, I think if you could touch upon that too.
Right.
At that time.
Yep.
Thank you.
Rick?
I basically got the same thing as you guys, but I got both positive, input from on the cameras and negative. And, it's that same terminology.
Yeah.
Big brother is watching me, and you can be standing there talking to two people and they could have a different opinion.
Well, they could be recording you. Had that happen.
That's all I got.
Okay, Josh?
Nothing.
Okay, Ken? Chief? Matt? Chief? Okay, I take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, motion and second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
All right. You still didn't beat my record, but you came close.
This is your shot, Dwayne. This is your shot for a 15-minute meeting. I can't.